Okay, this is the review for lesson 6.4. So there is a recommendation that you go ahead and try the work on IXL first, and you can see the link here on the side. So first of all, a recap on what we did in lesson 6.3. We were looking at rules for exponents where we're multiplying and dividing. So questions where we're multiplying, remember if two things are next to each other with no signs in between, this means multiply. Then as long as they have the same base, like they do here, the x, then we just add the exponents together. So 4 add 3 is 7, and it's whatever the base is in the question is the base in the answer. So things that it's not 4 times 3. And it's not saying, oh, look, there's 1x, there's 2x's, so I'm going to put 2x. We keep the base the same, and we add the exponents together. When we're dividing, we subtract the exponents. Now, if there's numbers, though, this is just simple number work. 12 divided by 3, that's just your regular 12 divided by 3, which is 4. But when I have my exponents, the rule is we subtract the exponents for division. So 8 take away 2 is 6. And then when you put the two things together, it will give you 4h to the 6. So while we're doing these types of questions, we want to be thinking about numbers first, letters second, and if there's more than one type of letter, alphabetical order is important as well when we're giving our answers. So ones like this, where there's 3 things, you split it up into 3 separate parts. Numbers first, letters second, and do them in alphabetical order as well. Remember, when there's no exponent, it's a 1. So 3 take away 1 is 2. 5 take away 4 is 1, and we don't put the 1, we're actually listing our answer. But when you're calculating it, make sure you realize it is a 1, or else that could seriously mess up your answer. There was a couple of review questions to try. You might want to pause the video and try the 2 questions in the Canvas, in the Desmos activity. But -3 times 7 is -21, so I know it's between these 2. And for the exponents, I'm going to add them as I'm multiplying. So 2 add 6 is 8. There's only one y in this question, so I can't combine it with anything. It's just y by itself. And for this one here, as I'm looking here, there's only one number here, which is the 6. I see m's and n's, so I'm going to combine the m's. I see m squared, and I see m to the 5, and 2 add 5 is 7. So I know it's between these 2. And then here's an n, and here is n to the 8. Remember, n is n to the power of 1, so 1 add 8 gives me 9. And that will be my correct answer for that one. So in this lesson, specifically for lesson 6.4, we're going to focus on multiplying monomials by polynomials. So monomials is just something that has one term, and we're either going to be multiplying it by something with 2 terms or 3 terms, and we could actually go further, but that's as far as we go at this point. We're going to use those same rules of exponents that we just talked about. There are examples to the side, but I'm going to focus on this example here on my little sketch pad here. Now, it does say method 1 because there's 2 kind of different ways you can write your answer depending on how you prefer. Probably when you were in middle school, when you did the distributive rule, you would have probably drawn little lines like this to show you they're going to multiply this thing by this thing, and then this thing by the second thing. So basically everything on the outside, you're multiplying by each term on the inside. So just do one at a time. Let's do this times this. So number work here, -2 times 11 is going to give me 22. And then for my letters, let's get rid of that. I can see that there's x cubed and there's an x. Remembering this x is x to the power of 1. When I add my exponents, 3 add 1 gives me 4. So notice that same rule, numbers first, and then letters second, as I'm working out what the answer should be. Once I've done the first term, then I look at the second term. Notice the sign that goes with this as well. So this is not 3, this is -3 here. So as I do my numbers, I have -2 times by -3, which is 6, and specifically +6. And then as I look for my letters for this one, there's actually just 1 this time. I have x cubed. I don't have any other terms here with x, so I just have x cubed, so I can just write down x cubed. Now, as I move on to my second one, I'm going to do it the same way. So I'm not just going to draw the lines here. I'm just going to write the answer in a slightly different way. So this is called the box method. So as there's 2 terms here, I have 2 boxes, and I put the first term over the first box, and I put the second term with the sign over the second box. If I have a third term, I can just draw a third box at the side here as well. And then I put these at the start of the question here when I'm multiplying both of these by. Same thing, numbers first. So I would do 1/5 times by 10, and this is probably where you'd want to use your calculator just to check. X squared times by x. Remember, this is the power of 1. So 2 add 1 gives me 3, giving me 2x to the power of 3. Only one y in these two terms, so I can just go ahead and fill that in because there's nothing to combine here. As I move on to the second term, I'm now doing this times by this. So 1/5 times -15 is -3. X squared times by x. Once again, this has an exponent of 1 if I need that. 2 add 1 gives me 3. Oops, not the neatest there. And then y times y. If I'm multiplying something by itself, remember that means I'm squaring the thing. So this is y squared. But you could also put the 1s in for these as well. And 1 plus 1 gives you 2 as well. So it's however you think about it. There is one for you to try, so you might want to pause the video at this point. And if you want to try this, 3/8 times by 16 would give me 12. Oh, hold on a second. 16, 6, I'm sorry. 6. My math skills will let me down there for a second. X times x squared. 1 plus 2 is 3. So this will be 6x cubed. You can, of course, use this one up here, doing the arrows here. I'm just going to use the boxes because I find that convenient to use. 3/8 x times by -32x. So numbers first. 3/8 times by -32 is -12. And x times x, 1 plus 1 will give me 2. So this will be x squared. And for the last one, 3/8x times by +24. Don't really need that parenthesis there. 3/8 times +24 is +9. And no x's here, but there is an x here. So I'm just going to put down that 1x there. As the questions get more complicated, as the ones where we have two sets of parentheses, we just treat them as separate questions. So you'd work out the answer to this question, work out the answer to this question, and then combine your answers. So if I'm looking at the numbers here, 3 times 3 is 9. B to the 4 and b to the 2, add the exponents. 4 add 2 is 6. 3 times -1 is -3. There's only one letter here, b to the 4, so I need a b to the 4. And then do the same for the other one. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 add 1 gives me 4 for my exponents. And no numbers here, just one number at the start here, 2. And then technically this is -1 if that helped. 2 times -1. Or you could just say there's a negative and there's a 2, so -2. Add the exponents. 3 add 3 gives you 6. Now we're not stopped at this point because we're actually going to go ahead and then combine like terms. So notice I have a b to the 6 and I have another b to the 6 at the end here. So 9 take away 2 gives me 7. Now, a lot of people want to add the exponents here and put 12, but remember, that's when you're multiplying. We're not multiplying right now. We're actually just subtracting. So you're just saying how many b to the 6s do you have? You have 9. And if you take away 2, you have 7 b to the 6s. Be careful when you're combining the b to the 4s. It looks like it's 3 plus 8, but don't forget the sign here. So -3 plus 8 is 5. 5 what? B to the 4s, because that's what we're adding together. So we have to be a little careful when we're doing questions like that. Once again, you might want to try the practice questions. I'm going to go through each one of them in case you weren't here. So as I'm working through this, 2 times 4 is 8. And as it says x squared, I know my answer is 8x squared. And sometimes we get really lucky, and that's actually all I need for this answer. Very tempting here to remember that multiplying is adding, and then just do 2 add 4 is 6. But remember, that's for exponents. This is non-exponents. These are just numbers. If we want to check the rest of the answer, 2 times x, numbers first, and then letter second, which will give us 2x. And for the last one, 2 times 3 is obviously 6. As we move on to this one here, I'm going to do this times this. So 3 times 5 is 15. Notice I've already made it a choice of 2 if it's multiple choice. A times a squared, I add the exponents together. So 1 plus 2 will give me 3. And therefore, I know it can't be this answer here. And there is just one b. That's why we have a b on the end. And for the last one, this times this, the only number I see is 3. So I have a 3. There's only one a. So I have an a. And then b times b is b squared. 1 plus 1 giving you 2. And for the last one, once again, distribute here. So -2 times 3. Numbers first is -6. Add the exponents together. 1 plus 2 gives you 3. And it looks like I have the answer for this one as well. Just checking the other terms. 2 negatives make a positive. 2 times 4 is 8, and m times m is m squared. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10 with an m, and we're good to there. This one, a little bit more work to do on this one. Negative 4 times 5x. I'm not sure if it's going to let me type this in here. It's going to be negative 20x. I've got my check mark. Negative 4 times 4. Well, negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. And as there's a y here, negative 16y. And at the end, negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. So I'm just going to put 8. And for this one here, positive 4 times 6 is 24. And as there's an x, 24x. And 4 times 2y, 4 times 2 is 8. And there's a y, I'm going to put 8y. Now, it says we're adding the polynomials together. So we already distributed the plus through. So we're literally just combining terms right now. Notice there's two terms that have an x here. So negative 20x plus 24x is 4x. And you can use your Desmos calculator if you're not sure. Negative 16 plus 8 is negative 8. Whoops, I'll put a positive sign in there. And then there's only one term with a number, which is 8. So that would just be positive 8. And that's how you can combine those terms. Remember also here, don't add exponents because you're not multiplying. You're just adding. You're saying how many x's? 24, take away 20 is easier probably than saying negative 20, add 24. Now, we also have questions involving area. We looked at perimeter in the earlier part of this unit. So for a rectangle, I think of it as base times height. Sometimes some people say length times width, same thing. For the square, it's the same rule. It just says s squared because the square obviously has the same dimensions for each side. So this is s, so they write that as s squared. Notice for the triangle, it is base times height, but you have to half it. And that's the thing that a lot of people forget to do, even after being reminded in class. So that one's the one you want to pay particular attention to. Don't need to learn the formulas, you just need to know how to use them. They'll always be given to you on tests. So as I'm multiplying this, it tells me it's length times width. So I know I'm doing this times this. So numbers first. 5 times 3, 15. So I'm already narrowed it down to 2. A squared times a, add the exponents. So 2, add 1 is 3. And for the b's, 4 add 2 gives me 6. And I can pick my answer. For this one here, I got 3 terms on the bottom and 1 term here, but I'm still doing base times height for a rectangle. So I got to multiply this one term by each of these 3 terms here. So 7 times 2 is 14. And then x squared times x is x cubed. So it's between these two, between b and d right now. 7 times 6 is 42. X times x is x squared. And then now I do know the answer. Just to make sure, 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. And then there is the x there as well. When I get to my square, I just want to make sure that I label the second side. So with it being a square, I know it's obviously the same as the first side that I can see. And then I can start working this out as well, like I did with a rectangle. 6 times 6 is 36. And actually, I already know the answer for this one now. 4 add 4 is 8. And then the 1 add 1 gives you 2. So once again, sometimes just the first part of the question is enough for you to figure out what the answer is. They're hoping you'll do 6 times 2, which is 12. Or they're hoping you might even label all the sides and add them together. But that's a perimeter question. Now, the one that caused the most problems in class was this one here. So people started by multiplying together, which is good. 4 times 4 is 16. X times x squared, 1 plus 2 is 3. So it looks like right now it's possibly between answers A and D. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. And x times x, 1 and 1 gives me 2. So it's certainly looking like answer A right now. 4 times 2 is 8. And then there's an x. The only problem is the formula for base times height is for a rectangle. That's for this shape. But as you can see, this is not a rectangle, this is a triangle. It's half the rectangle. So we have to half each of these numbers. So half of 16 is 8. A half of negative 20 is negative 10. And a half of 8 is 4. So one we've got to be just a little bit careful as we're working through, but certainly the triangle one is people do forget, even when they see the formula sheet in front of them, and it clearly says 1/2. So keep an eye out for that one. The recommendation from here is to go and do the assignment for this year. The assignment is from IXL, and it was assignment Z6, try to get to 80. And you can start Z7, but there's going to be some questions that you won't be able to answer just because they are answered in a future lesson. And that will do it for this video.